Hey guys, so today's notes are titled Angles in Algebra, Part 1. So far we've really been focusing on complementary and supplementary angles, and today we're going to continue on with that. But today we're going to have to rely a little bit more on algebra to find missing angles. Before it was pretty simple. You know, if one angle was 50 degrees, then it's pretty easy to figure out that the complement of it would be 40, because 50 plus 40 is 90. And today it's going to get a little bit more intricate, and like I said, we'll have to rely on algebra to figure out the missing angles a little bit more. So before we do that, I just want to make sure we are crystal clear on what it means for angles to be complementary, supplementary, and also adjacent. So we'll take a look at these and label them accordingly. So these sets of angles, 110 and 70, those add up to 180, making them supplementary. And they're not connected. They don't share a vertex and a side, so they're not adjacent. They're just supplementary. These two are also not adjacent. They're two separate angles, but they do add up to 90 degrees, making them complementary. 64 plus 26 does add up to 90, so these would be complementary. And if you want to abbreviate to comp and sup, I'm okay with that. This set of angles, 58 and 32, do add up to 90, so that makes them complementary. But they're also connected. They share this vertex and this side, so that also makes them adjacent. So those are complementary adjacent angles. Going over here, these should look familiar. Hopefully these kind of stick out in your mind as one of your vocab words called vertical angles. So although I didn't have that listed there, these are actually vertical angles. But within vertical angles, there are adjacent angles because there are angles that share this vertex and this side. So I'm also going to label these as adjacent. And also supplementary. There are angles here that form a straight line or 180 degrees. So those could also be considered supplementary. So vertical, adjacent, and supplementary could all pertain to that image. And then lastly over here, 45 and 135 do add up to 180, making them supplementary. And they also share this vertex and this side. They're kind of connected, making them adjacent as well. All right, so just wanted to make sure we're clear on the vocab there. Next thing that we're going to move on to are finding missing angle measures given different images. So again, these are going to be a little bit more complicated because there's more going on than just the straight line or just the right angle. So we're going to have to use a little bit more problem-solving skills here. Starting at this one, we're trying to find angle ECB, so this green one right here. We know that this angle is 22, and ECB, the one we're trying to find, looks like it would be its complement. It looks like those form a 90-degree angle. So to find this, we would just want to subtract the 90 from 22, and that would be 68 degrees. Okay. I also like to label it on the image just so we have an idea there. And then we're also trying to find ECA. Hopefully recognize if this whole portion is 90 degrees, then that also means this is 90 degrees or a right angle. So ECA, this entire angle, is made up of a 90-degree angle and then also that extra 22 degrees. So this angle would be 90 plus 22, which is 112 degrees. All right. Going over to this one, angle X is one of the angles we want to try and find. And if you kind of block out all this extra stuff, you can see that 130 degrees and X make a straight line, making them supplementary. So to find X, I could take 180 minus 130, which is 50 degrees. So angle X is 50 degrees again because it forms a straight line with 130. Next we want to find angle Y. Erase that there. So if you look here, this angle is a right angle. So that means X and Y together would be a right angle, making X and Y complementary. Again, if this doesn't stick out to you right away, it might just take you a little bit longer to look at it and figure out what pieces we can use to find the missing angles. But X and Y together are complementary. If X is 50, Y needs to be a certain degree to get us to 90. The way we would do that is 90 minus 50, making Y a 40-degree angle. Like I said, we already know this is 90 degrees, and it didn't ask you to find this angle, but you could if you wanted. Maybe you could try that one on your own if you want. You can use this straight line and use the 130 degrees to help you out there. And then lastly, over here, we are given that this is a right angle and this is a 50-degree angle. We first want to find ZAU, which is ZAU. That's this entire angle that's actually made up of the 50 degrees and the 90 degrees. So I would just need to add those together to come up with the angle measure there. ZAU would be 140 degrees. All right, and then lastly, angle XAZ, I also want to find. So XAZ is this angle right here. I would go about it by saying that these all form a straight line. Okay, the 50 and the 90, which we just said is 140, forms a straight line with this extra angle. So 180 minus that 140 would give us what we're left over with here with this little angle. And that would end up being 40 degrees. Like I said, I like to label those angles up there as well. Again, you could actually find these other two angle measures if you wanted to try that out. Go for it. All right, so again, we haven't really used too much algebra. We are still looking for unknown angles, but we haven't really had to rely on our equations or solving anything in order to figure these out. On the back, though, we're not going to be given enough information to just solve it in our heads or using subtraction. We are going to have to set up an equation to help us find the variable, to help us find the missing angle measures. So, like I said, we're going to create an equation to help us figure these out. For this one, we don't know either of the angle measures. We just know this is a certain amount and this is twice the amount. So I also know that these are complementary. I know that these are going to add up to 90 degrees. So there's an equation that we can set up. I can add these together and set them equal to 90. 2x plus x equals 90 degrees. This is an equation that we can solve. 2x and x, I combine those like terms to get 3x equals 90. And then from here we just need to divide both sides by 3. That leaves me with x equals 30. So if x equals 30, that means this angle is x. It is 30 degrees. And this angle is 2 times x. So 2 times 30, which is 60 degrees. All right, let's go on to this next one. This also looks like a set of complementary angles. Complementary adjacent, again, to be exact. Again, I don't know what x is, so I'm going to use an equation. I do know when I add these two together, they're going to equal 90. So again, my equation, I can add the x to this x minus 42, and I want that to equal 90 degrees. X and x is 2x. I still have this minus 42, and I still want it to equal 90. I'm going to draw my line here. I would want to get rid of that minus 42 by adding 42 on both sides. That leaves me with 2x equals 132. And then lastly, you just need to divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 66. So if x equals 66, that means this angle measure is 66. And this one would be 66 minus 42, which is 24 degrees. All right. Heading on down to this next one, now we're dealing with supplementary angles, meaning that they add up to 180 degrees. So, same thing, using that fact, I'm going to set up an equation. I know that this plus this equals 180, so I can set that up. 3q plus 15q plus 18 equals 180. From there, we can combine the like terms. 3q and 15q would be 18q. And then just carry down the plus 18 and the equals 180. From there, we solve like we did in our last unit. We're back to algebra. I told you we were moving on, but not to forget about solving equations. Subtract 18 on both sides, leaving us with 18q equals 180 minus 18, which is 162. And from there, divide both sides by 18. That leaves us with q equals 162 divided by 18, which is 9. So just solving isn't quite enough. I want to use that value of q to find each of these angle measures. This one is 3q, so 3 times q, or 3 times 9, which is 27 degrees. And then to find this one, you could plug in 9 for q and figure it out that way. Or more simply, we know these are supplementary, so I could just take 180 minus 27. This would be 153. Which you should also get if you plug in 9 for q. 15 times 9 plus 18 is also 153. All right, over here, same thing. These are supplementary, meaning they add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to set up an equation like that. I'm going to add 2x plus 3 plus x minus 6. And those add up to 180 because I know those are supplementary. There's a couple sets of like terms here. I have 2x and x, along with 3 and negative 6. So when I combine those, I have 3 x's, and plus 3 and negative 6 is negative 3. And that's still equal to 180. And we can solve. Add 3 on both sides to get 3x equals 183. And then divide both sides by 3 to get x equals 183 divided by 3 is 61. So if x equals 61, that means this angle is going to be 61 minus 6, which is 55 degrees. And then this one, you could plug in 61 for x, or you can just do 180 minus 55 to get 125 over there. All right, these last two are going to serve as your practice. So once you finish watching the video, once you come to this point, you can stop the video, try these two on your own, and then you're going to check them in with Mrs. Moore, with me. So I will see you once you finish those up. All right.